So in this lesson, we're going to learn about dividing a decimal by decimal, right? So if you want to divide a decimal by decimal, what we have to do is, we have this example, right? We have the example of 0.5 divided by 0.2. And what we want to do is we want to remove the decimal units, right? So what we have to do is we have to divide, we have to times this expression, and we have to times it by 10 over 10 so that we can remove the decimal unit. So this becomes 5 over 2. And when this becomes 5 over 2, we divide 2 into 5, right? And this becomes 2 times 2 is 4, 1, 0, right? Right, point. Right, 2, it becomes 2.5. How do we know that this is true, right? How do we know that this is true? How do we know that this is true, right? How do we know that 0.5 divided by 2 is 2.5? How do we know this to be true, right? We could do cross multiplication to figure this out, right? Right? We could do, okay, well, or, we don't even do that. Let's just do, let's times 2.5 times 0.2. So what is 2.5 times 0.2, right? This becomes 2.5 times 2.5, right? We move the decimal units, right? So it becomes 25 times 2, right? So what's 25 times 2? 25 times 2 is 50, right? But we have 2 units here, so we have to move it back 2 units. So this becomes 0.5. That's how we know this is true. That's how we know that the answer is correct, okay? We can also do it like this, but we're going to learn about this in our next lesson, right? Let's do another example. Let's do 0.25 times 0.4. Okay. No, yeah. So we do the method, we do it, right? Remember, we're trying to remove the decimal unit. So it becomes 2.5 divided by 4, right? Because we're trying to remove the decimal unit on the bottom, right? So now do 4, 2.5, right? 4 cannot go into 2, right? 4 can go into 25, right? 4 times, not 4 times, 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24, right? Add a 0. 4 times 2 is 8, right? 4 goes into 25 times, right? So it becomes 0.625. Again, how do we know this is true? Let's multiply 0.625 times 4, times 0.4. This becomes 625 times 4, right? 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 20. Plus 8 2 is 20. 6 times 4 is 24. 5 times 4 is 20. 2. 4 times, right, this comes to 1, sorry. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25, right? We have 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know that the answer is 0.25. Okay? In this example, right, we have a situation where we have 2 decimal units on the top and 1 on the bottom, right? When you have a situation like this, you want to make sure that you want to get the bottom part, right, to be a whole number, and then you just divide it as if it's a regular, like, decimal by a whole, which we learned in a previous lesson, right? And then you get the answer, okay? Let's do another simplified answer to understand, right? Let's say we have 0.3 divided by 0.1, right? Another simple example, right? Times by 10. We're timesing it by 10 because we're trying to get the bottom part to be a whole number, right? So it becomes 3 divided by 1, right? Which is 3. Again, how do we know this is true? Because 0.1 times 3 is 0.3. We know this to be true. This is true, right? We know this to be true. Okay, but what happens if you have a situation, right? Let's say like we have something like this, right? But let's say the bottom number is like a 2 decimal thing, right? So let's say we have something like 0.2 divided by 0.25, right? Let's just say, right? We do the same thing. We're trying to make the bottom part a whole number, right? So we have to multiply by 100 because we have to make this a whole number. So this becomes 25, right? Because you move it 2 units, and then you also move this 2 units, right? So this becomes 20 over 25, and then you divide, right? So how many times is 25 going to 20? 25 cannot go into 20, but 25 can go into 200, I believe, but 8 times. So the answer is 0.8. Again, how do we know this to be true? How do we know this to be true? Okay, well, let's do it. Well, 0.25 times 0.8, okay? 25 times 8 is 200, right? But we have 3 units, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. So we know which is equal to 0.2, which is right here. So that's how we know this is true. That's how we know this is true. That's how we know this is right. That's how we know this is true. This is a true answer. Right? So that's it. So basically the step-by-step process when you want to divide a decimal by decimal is basically you want to times it by a base of 10, right? So that we remove the bottom part, we remove so we make it a whole number. And then what you do is once you have the fraction part, then you divide it like a regular number, and then you get the answer. Okay. Same thing here. We're timesing it by 10 because we're trying to make the bottom part a whole number, right? And then we divide like a regular fraction, right? We do the same thing here. We times it by 10, right? So this is d divided by 1, and then d divided by 1 is just 3, right? And then we do the same thing here, 0.2. We're timesing it by 100 because remember we're trying to make the whole number into we're trying to make the bottom part into a whole number, right? So this becomes 20 over 25, and then this becomes 0.8 as the answer. Okay, that's it. All right, a little bit, a little bit of practice, but eventually you'll get it. All right, thank you, and have a nice day. Bye bye.